Hello, this will be a demonstration of proposition 22 from book 6 of Euclid's Elements, which says that if four straight lines be proportional, the rectilineal figures similar and similarly described on them will also be proportional, and the converse, if the rectilineal figures similar and similarly described be proportional, the straight lines shall be proportional. Now, we're given four straight lines, A, B, C, D, E, F, and F, G, or not F, G, G, H. And on them, we're going to have two similar rectilineal figures. So on AB, we're going to have the triangle KAB, which is similar to the triangle LCD, like that. And likewise on EF and GH, we're going to have two parallelograms, MF and NH. That. And we're either given, we're given in both cases that the triangle KAB is similar to the triangle LCD, and that the parallelogram MF is similar to the parallelogram NH. And either we're given that AB is to CD just as EF is to GH, or we're given that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. In the first case, if AB be to CD just as EF is to GH, we must prove that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. But if on the converse, we are given that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH, we must prove that AB is to CD, just as EF is to GH. Let's take the first case. If AB be to CD just as EF is to GH, we're going to construe the magnitude O such that AB is to CD just as CD is to O, so that O is a third proportional, which means we're going to make the straight line O by proposition 611. And likewise, we're going to make the other straight line P as a third proportional to EF and GH as well by proposition 611, so that as EF is to GH, GH is to P. Now, AB being to CD just as EF is to GH, we were given this, and AB being to CD just as CD is to O, and EF being to GH just as GH is to P. By proposition 511, we have multiple ratios which are the same with the same ratios, which means they are the same with one another, so that CD is to O just as GH is to P. And then, by proposition 522, xi quali, AB is to O just as EF is to P. So we're going through the middle term CD, the equal term CD, and we're going through the other equal term GH to get that AB is to O just as EF is to B. But by the porism of 619, that if three straight lines be proportional, the first is to the third, just as the figure on the first is to the similar figure on the second, AB is to O, just as the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, and also by the porism of 619, EF is to P, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. So again, by 511, we have ratios which are the same with the same ratios, which means they are all the same with one another, so that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. Now this is what we set out to prove. We set out to prove that given that AB is to CD, just as EF is to GH, that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. And having proven this, we are done with the first case. Now moving on to the second case, given that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH. We want to prove that AB is to CD just as EF is to GH. For if this is not the case, and AB is to CD just as EF is to some straight line which is not GH, then we can satisfy this proportion by a fourth proportional. So we're going to construct the straight line QR, which is a fourth proportional between AB, CD, E, and EF, so that AB is to CD just as EF is to QR. We're going to make QR just all the way down here. QR. Making great use of all the space I have here. And on the straight line QR, by proposition 618, we're going to make the parallelogram SR, which is similar to either the parallelogram MF or the parallelogram NH. It doesn't matter to which one it's similar because the two parallelograms MF and NH are themselves similar to each other. So SR being similar to MF is also going to be similar to NH. Okay, so we have the parallelogram SR, which is similar to MF and has been described on the fourth proportional QR. Now, AB being to CD just as EF is to QR, and having just proven that if four straight lines be proportional, the similar and similarly described rectilineal figures are also proportional, we can then say that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram SR. Again, this is what we have just proven. But we're given in the second case that the triangle KAB is to the triangle LCD, just as the parallelogram MF is also to the parallelogram NH, which means we have two ratios which are the same to the same ratio, which means they are the same with one another by proposition 511, so that the parallelogram MF is to the parallelogram NH, just as the parallelogram MF is also to the parallelogram SR, but magnitudes to which the same has the same ratio are equal. That's proposition 5.9. So the parallelogram MF having the same ratio to both the parallelograms NH and SR, the parallelogram NH must be equal to the parallelogram SR, which means that the two parallelograms NH and SR are similar. We made SR such that it's similar to NH, and it's also just been shown to be equal, which means that the two sides here, GH and QR, are equal. Now, this is a well-known defect of this proposition. There should be some proposition somewhere that if two rectilineal figures be similar and equal to each other, then their corresponding sides are also equal to each other. This is a similar problem that's going to come up in proposition 628 and 629. At some point, I might put in the description either a written up proof for this, like I'll just type it out, or I'll make a private video for it. But either way, we're going to assume for now that rectilineal figures, which are both equal and similar, if two rectilineal figures be equal and similar, then their corresponding sides are also equal. We're just going to assume that to be the case for now, so that the parallelogram NH being equal to and similar to the parallelogram SR, the side GH is equal to its corresponding side QR. But we had assumed that QR is not equal to GH, right? Because we assumed that the proportion, that the fourth proportional of AB, CD, and EF is not GH, which means that QR was made unequal to GH. But it's just been shown that it is equal to GH, which means that QR is simultaneously unequal to and equal to GH, which is manifestly absurd. And so we can safely say that AB is to CD just as EF is to GH. And this being what we set out to prove, we are thus done with the proposition altogether. Therefore, etc. QED. Other than that defect in the proposition, which you can, that defect would be resolved by a more general statement that if two ratios, that if a ratio be greater than, equal to, or less than another ratio, then its duplicate will likewise be greater than, equal to, or less than the duplicate of the other, and the converse. If the duplicate of a ratio be greater than, equal to, or less than the duplicate of some other ratio, then this ratio shall be likewise greater than, equal to, or less than the other ratio. Again, that's something I might make a separate video for and just private that so as not to ruin the order. Or that's something that I'll just type out into a document and put a link to that in the description at some later point. But no guarantee that I actually will do that. Just know that that is true. Other than that, I've got nothing to say about this proposition. So I'll end the video here and move on to 623.